A power surge can do serious damage to your plugged-in devices, which is why we always advise our customers to protect everything valuable to them with some sort of power protection device. It can be a brownout, it can be a lightning strike, it can just be really bad electrical in your neighborhood, even a car hitting a power pole. I've seen it all, and I've seen very, very expensive equipment destroyed. And then you're trying to deal with your insurance companies and deductibles and premiums and everything else. What's even easier than that is to simply protect your equipment so it lasts a long time and does what you paid for it to do, which is work. And that's where Monster comes in. I've always been a fan of Monster products. I owned their products throughout high school, throughout university, because I always had nice sound systems and I was a big lover of music. So I wanted to get most of my musical experience. So that's kind of how my affiliation with Monster began, as a customer and as a fan. In my mid-20s, I was given an opportunity to work as a rep for Monster, and I jumped on it, and I had a blast. It was, six of the most fun years of my career, and I learned a ton. And I want to tell you about one of the things I learned because it's relevant to our conversation today. So Monster basically invented the category of power conditioning, just like they invented the category of better quality speaker cables in a time when people didn't really think about those sorts of things. Now, I want to give you a little background in the history of these Monster products, okay? Before he started Monster, Noli was an audiophile, and the whole impetus for starting Monster is he wanted to get more of these expensive speakers that he bought. So that's how Monster got started. Now, when he bought those speakers, he didn't have an audio company or a consumer electronics company. He was an engineer at Lawrence Livermore Labs. And they do some really cool research, including what he was working on at the time, which is doing research in how to protect electronic circuitry from electromagnetic pulse. And what that is if someone were to explode a nuclear weapon, it would send out an electrical signal that, for lack of a better term, would fry every electronic in the vicinity. So pretty important if you're trying to keep planes, tanks, and other military equipment in the air, and quite frankly, civilian equipment too, because you think about it, without electrical, everything we know would shut down. It would be done. So they did a lot of work on how to dissipate these electromagnetic pulses, and a lot of that work that happened then later went into the power products as well. So they have a very strong pedigree in power. Over 30 plus years, they've created some of the most effective power products out there. I've seen them work personally. I still own a lot of them in my house. And I think we have to start talking about power again, because it's something we've stopped talking about. And we're all paying a price for it, in that a lot of our equipment isn't lasting as long as it should and not performing the way it should as well. So let's talk about power and surge protection. And typically power products are rated on how much electrical power they can absorb, or joules. And so what I like about these new Monster products is they can absorb over 3,000 joules, which is great because that is probably enough for almost every home out there. We want to talk a little bit about specifically what some of these products can do, but I want to tell you a few things that are important first. You may have what looks like a power bar in your house now, but it may not have surge protection. That is a general misconception, that if it is a power bar, it's also a surge protector. A lot of times it's just a bunch of extra outlets. So make sure that whatever you have can support a surge, because you will probably have to deal with them one of these days. Now, there are a couple different ways that power bars can work. There are some of the basic ones that will sacrifice themselves when there's a big hit. So it destroys the bar, but everything plugged into the bar is safe. And the other way is using advanced circuitry and components to dissipate the electrical surge so that the bar continues to work. So some of my higher end Monster products, the component chassis pieces from back in the day, if we do get a power surge, they'll shut themselves off and reset and power cycle and go back on, and all my equipment keeps working as well. And this all goes back to that work that Noel was doing at Livermore Labs all those years ago. A lot of that work has made its way in to the Monster ecosystem, and indeed a lot of the work that is done and the research that's done in the military field later makes its way to the civilian field. Now, I'll give you a great example: HDTV, or high definition television. So this is just yet another example of some research being done in the military world that's benefiting us all in our home world as well. The new Monster products are fantastic. Their core product is called the Vertex, or the Monster Power Center Vertex. And it's a 6-outlet unit with a built-in power shield, which is like having an extra outlet in your house. And I'll explain what that is in a couple moments. And there's also a Vertex XL with 10 outlets as well. So for most of the homes out there, for most of the entertainment units out there, for most of the electronics out there, that's perfectly sufficient as well. And they come in black or white, so they'll fit in any house. They're not big, ugly things like they used to be, and they look like they belong in your home. The Power Shield is a nifty little problem solver, and it basically adds an extra outlet anywhere you want in your home, because most homes don't have enough electrical outlets. It's a really cool idea. It's a really nice looking cord on it. So first of all, you don't have this big, ugly rubber cord hanging down, and it blends nicely into the room. It also comes with a rare earth magnet so you can stick it to the wall, because the last thing you want is a loose electrical connection anywhere in your home, so it feels like it was built into the home. And you can move it around, which is really, really nice. And there is a 2-outlet version, a 4-outlet version, and they all have USB charging as well. So it's a really cool little handy problem solver. In a lot of rooms, a Vertex and a Power Shield is really all you need to protect everything you have and make sure you have adequate power as well. I could give you a whole bunch of speeds and feeds as to why you might want to put a Monster Power Center in your home, or Monster Power Centers in your home, but I'm going to instead tell an actual story from my actual past to help you understand the actual value of these products. So when I worked with Monster, I used to work with our dealers to help them. Now, how we helped them was we would train them, we would empower them, and we'd teach them how to create value in these products. There was no such thing as a hard sell or a hard close. It was simply a matter of presenting the information to the client and letting them decide. Well, I was working at a store called Future Shop, which is a long gone chain of stores in Canada, and I was working with their audio video department on a Saturday for a couple hours. And they'd sold this gentleman a really nice TV, really nice little sound system. I think in those days it was a Blu-ray player that he'd purchased, just 1080p mind you, and a few other components. And he had hemmed and hawed about this Monster Power Center, so the department manager called me over and said, "Hey, do you mind talking to this gentleman because you work with Monster?" And I said, "Absolutely." So I explained everything the product could do. I explained the benefits of the product. I talked about the connected equipment guarantees that came with it, which, by the way, still come with every Monster product, a connected equipment guarantee. And I lastly told him that Future Shop had a very nice return policy of up to 30 days, so why doesn't he take it home for a couple weeks and see how it works in his system? And if he wasn't 100% satisfied, to bring it back. So he reluctantly agreed. And I told him I'd be back at that same store the following Saturday at the exact same time, and I'd love to hear his feedback. Well, I was there from 2 till 4, and about 2:02 p.m. he walked through the door carrying this power bar, and it looked like he'd taken a flamethrower to it. It was all melted, it was carbon scored, it looked like it'd been a battle, in some sort of battle in Star Wars, like it was just destroyed. I thought, my God, what did he do to it? I thought maybe he got angry, threw it in the fire, something like that. And I was expecting to not be very happy. Instead, he was incredibly happy. Here's why. He took all this nice new equipment he bought home. He plugged it into his Monster Power Center, watched the hockey game, watched a couple TV shows, and went to sleep. Around 4:30 in the morning, someone had had too much to drink and drove home, which you should never do, and hit a transformer on the block outside of his house. As a result of that, and the power surge that went with it, almost every house on that block lost equipment. TVs, sound systems, electronics, computers, even light bulbs. All houses on the street got damaged. And his house was damaged too. But the equipment that was plugged into that Monster Center that he paid less than $200 for was all perfectly functioning. And because Monster's got such a great warranty, we literally handed him a new one, told him to go home, and hopefully it never happened again. And to the best of my knowledge, it never happened to him again. But that one time saved him thousands of dollars. And I know what you're thinking, well, I have insurance for that. You do have insurance for that, but paying thousands of dollars in deductible is not a great way to exercise your right to protect yourself. Because not only will you have to pay that money, but you're also going to have increased premiums as well. So rather than paying thousands of dollars to replace equipment, why not pay just over $100 and keep the equipment you have for a long period of time? And that's the value of this, because there's so much you can't control. You can't control if someone's going to hit something outside of your house. You can't control the weather, so you don't know if there's going to be a lightning strike near you. You don't know. So the only thing you do control is what you're going to do about it if those things happen. And unfortunately, once they've happened, there's nothing you can do about it except go shopping. Protecting your equipment is really, really important. And I really like that Monster continues to offer great solutions to keep your equipment, your investments, and your valuable possessions safe.